Hello everybody, welcome back. Today I'm going to be actually reviewing the new Red Dragon Archfiend Resonator support that was revealed yesterday. These three new cards that have been revealed so far are all really awesome, and I'm sure there's going to be more support to come. Usually with a structure deck there is more than 3 cards, so definitely we'll be awaiting what those cards are, and if they're anything similar to these, then we could have a deck that, you know, has kind of come together a bit more. I'm not going to say it's necessarily going to be a meta threat or anything like that, but definitely with what we've got revealed so far, the consistency of the deck is already a million times better. So I'm going to just quickly go through the 3 cards. I'm going to start with the Soul Resonator, because this card is what really brings it all together. When it's normal or special, you can add a level 4 or lower Fiend from deck to hand, and then you are locked into Dark Synchro monsters. Already we're used to getting locked into Dark Dragon Synchro monsters, so the Dark Synchro monsters it's a better restriction, but we're used to playing like that anyway. And then if a card you control be destroyed by card effect while you control Red Dragon Archfiend or a Synchro monster that mentions it, you can banish this from the graveyard instead, so a bit of protection is nice as well. But the first effect is insane, and it allows this Soul Resonator to be a 1-card combo when it's paired with Bone Archfiend, this other new monster here. So if this card's in the hand or graveyard, you can send another card from hand or field to the grave, special summon it, and then again you're locked into Dark Synchro monsters. And then you can target a face-up monster you control, send a Fiend Tuner from your hand or deck to the graveyard, and if you do, increase or decrease that target's level by 1. So I'll show what the combo looks like, but essentially this is a recurable level 4, which is insane, because again, typically in the past, the deck needed a level 2 Resonator and a level 4 Fiend to kind of play the game. Specifically, Crimson Resonator is what you had to have. But now, this is just going to sit in the graveyard, and it's recurable. It doesn't banish itself if it's summoned that way, so it's going to go back to the graveyard, and next turn you can bring this back and you've got another 4, so you can kind of keep playing the game with the level 4. So this is a really good piece of support. And then already throughout the like the previous combos, you could already recur Resonators, and so the Resonators, you were never in short supply of those. It was the level 4s you needed. So this guy's just going to sit in the graveyard all the time and can keep coming back every turn, which is what you want. The Synchro monster is good as well. Quickly go over what this one does. Its name becomes Red Dragon Archfiend while face up on the field in the graveyard, which is nice. I mean, it just gives you, I guess, more access to the synchros that need specifically Red Dragon Archfiend, which they're not that great, if I'm being honest, unless we get a new one that requires it. Otherwise, we're not really using it for that. If it's sent to the monster, it's sent from the field to the graveyard, you can special summon a Red Dragon Archfiend from your extra deck. It's treated as a synchro summon, and then if it was sent to the graveyard synchro material for Dark Dragon, which it always will be, you're destroying all monsters your opponent controls in attack position. So the second part is cool, and because of that second effect, the way it's kind of worded, it makes me think that maybe we will get a quick effect synchro on our opponent's turn, which would be insane to be able to summon King Calamity. But otherwise, you know, if you make this along the way, using your Red Rising Dragon and your Crimson Resonator, and then synchro this off for, let's say, Hot Red, you get to immediately summon out a level 8 synchro for free, which just means you have more options when it comes to extending, which is great. So rather than just ending on one boss monster, which the deck was kind of what it could do with its linear play, now you at least get 2. So yeah, I think it's pretty solid, but I'll show you what the kind of combo looks like with Soul Resonator and go from there. Okay, so I'll show the combo first, and then I'll do the deck profile afterwards, but pretty much all you need is Soul Resonator and then a card to discard. So you would start by normal summoning Soul Resonator and then using its effect to add the Bone Archfiend. Then you can activate the Bone Archfiend, discarding the discard, whatever that is, and then it summons. You'll use its second effect, targeting one of the monsters, doesn't really matter which one, and you're going to send Crimson Resonator to the graveyard to reduce the level of the monster by 1, because obviously Soul Resonator is a 3 and a 4, so you need Red Rising Dragon as a 6 to start playing. So you're going to reduce one of your monsters by level by 1, and then you can synchro into your Red Rising Dragon. Red Rising Dragon activates on summon to revive Crimson Resonator. And then this point here is where you always kind of aim to end up in the older version of the deck. Now, certainly we'll see if the rest of the support changes how it plays up to this point. But already you can see that Soul Resonator and Bone Archfiend get us to this point, which is where we want to be, which is where we wanted to be prior to the support anyway. And it does it with one card rather than two, which is awesome. So now you have Crimson Resonator plus Synchro. You can use Crimson Resonator's effect to summon 2 Resonators from the deck. The ones that we are going to summon are Synchron Resonator. And then what you summon as the second one just depends on, I guess, what the rest of your hand looks like. I'll show you what I mean by that. So I'm going to summon Red Resonator here, just for this demonstration. And then we can go, we'll obviously get Red Resonator's effect to gain 2100 life just because we can. Then we go Crimson plus Red Rising Dragon. I'm going to go into the new Scar Red Dragon Archfiend. And then from this point, we can go Synchron plus Scar Red Dragon Archfiend into Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss. And then we get Synchron Resonator's effect to add back, and we can kind of add back whatever we want at this point. We'll also get Scar Red Dragon Archfiend's effect, so we can chain them accordingly. 1 Resonator to Red Dragon to summon out the original Red Dragon Archfiend, which I need to acquire a copy of before I'm sure it'll be in the structure deck anyway. And then Synchron Resonator is going to add back, and in this case, we're just going to add back follow-up. So probably the Soul Resonator is just the best one. So that's now in hand. And then what we can actually do here, and this is where it depends, I guess, what's in your hand. I'm playing I'm currently, I'll do the profile in a moment, but I'm playing the Bestials, which means you could go Red and Red Dragon Archfiend into something like the new Bestial Synchro, which is Bestial Dispada. It's a Dark Dragon, so it works within the restrictions because we're locked into Dark Dragons because we use Crimson Resonator, and it's essentially a negation, a monster negate by shuffling banished cards into the deck. Now, obviously, we haven't banished anything ourselves, but we're playing the Bestials, so if you open, let's say, Lubellion plus the Soul Resonator, then summoning this is great. Otherwise, what you summon as a second is a tricky choice. I guess, it's going to be more dependent on what your hand looks like. This one is just, this is something that we can just make. If you had, let's say, a Creation Resonator, which currently is not in the list, but I want to try and find room for it, you could put it in with, and then, if you opened a Crimson Resonator or a Synchron Resonator, you could use the 2, you need 3 tuners, never mind. It's a tricky one because obviously the synchros at the moment, the Dark Dragon synchros that we have access to, don't do anything. So this is the only one that actually has something that's proactive that you can do. The rest are more, going second, blowing up your opponent's board kind of cards. So what you do is, it's tricky. That's why we're kind of relying on opening a Bestial at this point. But anyway, that's roughly what the combo does. And then I'll show you what my very early days deck profile is looking like with the new support. Okay, so we'll get straight into the deck profile. Starting off with the level 4s that we're trying to use here. We've got Bone Archfiend at 3. Even though this sits in rotation, you definitely want to see this in your hand, because obviously if you get hand trapped on Soul Resonator, then having this is it's just an easy extender, so it's a good card to have. We have the Wandering King Wildwind. It's also just a free special summon as well if you have a Resonator on board, so it is another kind of free summon. I'm playing 1 Skullmeister. So we've cut Witch of the Black Forest. Bone Archfiend is just better in every way. Skullmeister, keeping it 1, because in the instances where we've already opened a Bone Archfiend, for example, we can just search Skullmeister for free, and it's just a free interruption that you can just search with Soul Resonator. So we may as well still play it. And in worst case scenarios, you can still just normal summon it if you've specialed Crimson and then do combo the old way. Then for the Resonators, we're playing 3 of the Soul Resonator. It's the best one now. It's a 1-card combo. I'm currently on 2 Crimson Resonator. It probably should be 3. I'm just playing with ratios at the moment, and still by itself this does nothing, but yeah, it could be at 3. 2 Synchron Resonator, and then got 1 red and 1 chain. I really like the idea of chain Resonator. This could be creation Resonator. This is kind of the flex spot. This could also be the 3rd Crimson Resonator. Yeah, I don't know. The chain's interesting. I like the idea that you can, like if you open the old combo of, let's say, Crimson and Wandering King or Crimson and Bone Archfiend, I like the idea that you could, I guess, still get to a point where you could normal summon the chain Resonator, because there are versions where you don't have to normal summon at all, and like the only card we really want to normal summon is Soul Resonator. So there's an example where you could special the Soul Resonator from deck using chain, and that will still trigger its vector search. So chain's interesting. Yeah, that's why I've currently got it in the list. Then still in the Resonators, we've got 3 Resonator Call. It's just 3 more Resonators. Then I did say I was playing the Bestials just because they help enable banishing, plus they themselves are just a pretty solid engine. And I've got my Bestials in my control deck, that's why these are the proxies. But we've got 3 Libellion, and I'm just playing 1 Magnamut, 1 Druisworm, and 1 Boldrake. Just keeping it really small. Libellion's the one we want to see. These are also just 6s that are pretty useful for synchro summoning. So they work out quite nicely. And I'm playing 1 Regained at the moment. So this could be Beast. I'm playing Regained just because of the recursion. Yeah, I don't know. It definitely could be Beast though, for more interruption if that's what you'd prefer. And then I guess the last kind of for engine, we're playing 3 Pot of Prosperity. If you were to play this as like a going second deck, which I mean certainly the synchros love to be going second, you probably wouldn't play Prosperity. You could play Extravagance or Desires. I think Desires is better. But I'm going for Prosperity. We're playing a going first kind of version at the moment. It's just early days. Obviously, this is not playable even until we get the cards in the TCG. But I'm going for Prosperity at the moment just for consistency. Obviously, seeing 6 cards is better, and there's a lot of your extra deck you don't need, which is why you could argue for Extravagance. But I mean, all your main deck cards are mostly at 3 anyway, so you could argue Desires. If you went Desires, then you'd have a spot for the 3rd Crimson Resonator just to kind of help with that consistency. But yeah, they're all different options. And then we've got space for 12 Hand Traps, non-engine. These are whatever, can be whatever, like Ash, Baylor, Nib, Imperm, just 12 cards, right? They can be 12 whatever for the format, depending on what it looks like when this deck comes out. I do like the idea of Nibiru. It's the same kind of logic as I mentioned in the Bestial control deck profile that I put up earlier, in that your end board is not very oppressive looking. It's 1 synchro, 2 synchros. Nib going second is not always going to work, but Nib going first, if you've set up your small end board, the ability to just go Nibiru, they're going to play into Nibiru to try and break your board anyway. So as a kind of that backup to your board, Nibiru is definitely great. The extra deck, certainly I think we'll get more cards that will go into the extra deck, so this is obviously not going to be locked in or anything, but 1 Supernova, 1 Calamity, 1 Tyrant Red Dragon Archfiend. We're not really playing anything for Calamity at the moment. You would side deck them, I think. They are only really useful going first, so things like your Burning Soul or the Synchro Call, the trap that reborns the Synchro monsters to then quick Synchro. I'm hoping we get something in Engine that allows you to just search it and, go into Calamity going first and then break the board going second. Well, obviously, there's no board to break going second if you've done Calamity, but I don't know, the ability to kind of go Calamity in your opponent's turn would be insane. Then 1 Bane, 2 Abyss, just because I think Abyss is just very solid. 2 Red Scarlight, it probably doesn't need to be at 2. Could just certainly be at 1. 1 of the new Red Dragon, 1 of the original Red Dragon, 3 Red Rising Dragon. Remember that a lot of this is going to get banished off Prosperity. And then 1 Bestial Dispada, and then I've got 1 Chaos Angel. Now this is obviously not a dragon, and there's going to be turns where you can't summon this, but there will be turns where you can, because the only card that you get Dark Dragon Synchro locked in is on Crimson Resonator, and I think it's just Crimson. Might actually also be, no, so it's also Red Rising Dragon. So depending on, I guess, what your board looks like, it's not going to be a turn 1 card, it's going to be a turn 3 play, but definitely if you haven't used Red Rising or Crimson, it's just a solid level 10 synchro that you can summon, and it only needs 1 tuner, and that's one of the big benefits to it. And, you know, for this monster, you can also just treat a light or a dark as a tuner, so it's very flexible, and it works around, I guess, some of the restrictions, but otherwise just a solid choice. We'll also get the quick synchro bestial trap card, which I need to actually double check the text on, because potentially that could be the way we get into Calamity, but unless it's just summoning a bestial. In either case, bestial, the synchro call, also the trap card, you can quick synchro into fiends, so I guess you can quick synchro into Chaos Angel going first if you didn't want to, if you couldn't Calamity. But that's the deck. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm really happy with the support so far. I'm really looking forward to, I guess, what the rest of the support looks like. And let me know what you think about it in the comments. Thanks.